Today we're writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Now the key thing we need to understand about parallel and perpendicular lines is that parallel lines always have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes who are opposite reciprocals of each other. So if we're trying to find a line that's parallel to the line y equals 3x minus 1 and passes through the point -3, -5, the first thing we need to do is identify the slope of the original line. So what is the slope of the line y equals 3x minus 1? 3. So since we have the slope and a point, it may be helpful to use point-slope form. So we're using y minus y1 equals m, which is 3 in this case, times x minus x1. And x1, y1 is a point that we know is on our new line, which is the point they gave us. So we plug in -5 for y1 and -3 for x1. Then we just rewrite it in slope-intercept form. So the left simplifies to y plus 5, the right to 3x plus 3. Then we're going to use the distributive property and subtract 5 from both sides, and we get y equals 3x plus 4, because 3 times 3 is 9, when we subtract 5 we get 4. So that line is parallel to our original line. Notice they have the same slopes of 3, but they have different y-intercepts, -1 and 4. Now with perpendicular lines, the slopes are opposite reciprocals. So if the slope of one of the lines is 5, the slope of the perpendicular line is -1/5. If the slope of one is -2/3, the slope of the perpendicular line is +3/2. If the slope of one is 1/2, then the slope of the other one is -2. So we flip, we take the reciprocal, and then take the opposite. If it's negative, we make it positive. If it's positive, we make it negative. Example 2 in the lesson asks us to identify which lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. So they give us 3 lines. Y equals 5x minus 3, x plus 5y equals 2, and -10y minus 2x equals 0. So the first thing we need to know is what are the slopes of these lines? Well, this one is in slope-intercept form, so its slope is 5. The next one is not in slope-intercept form. In order to find slope-intercept form, we got to solve for y. So we subtract x from both sides, and we get 5y equals -x plus 2. Then we divide by 5, which gives us y equals -1/5 x plus 2/5. So the slope of that line is -1/5. For our third equation, we can add 2x to both sides. It gives us -10y equals 2x. We divide by -10. Gives us y equals -1/5 x. So its slope is -1/5. So what we see is, if these are lines A, B, and C, since lines B and C have the same slope, they're parallel. We symbolize that with a parallel symbol, which looks like an 11. So we have B is parallel to C. And we notice that A and B have negative reciprocal slopes, so A is perpendicular to B. And A and C also have negative reciprocal slopes, so A is perpendicular to C as well. Looking at the next example, you see the Arizona state flag is shown in a coordinate plane. Lines A and B appear to be perpendicular. Are they? So line A is 12y equals -7x plus 42. Line B is 11y equals 16x minus 52. So we need to determine the slopes of their lines. So for the first one, we divide both sides by 12. We get y equals -7/12x plus 7/2. The second equation we divide by 11. We get y equals 16/11x minus 52 over 11. So if we look at the slopes of these lines, are they opposite reciprocals of each other? No, they're not. So those lines are not parallel, or not perpendicular. They're also not parallel, but they're definitely not perpendicular either. Alright, so let's write an equation of a perpendicular line. If we want it to pass through the point 4, negative 5, and have a slope of, or be perpendicular to the equation y equals 2x plus 3, the first thing we need to do is find the slope. So what is the slope of the existing line? 2. So what will the perpendicular slope be? Negative 1/2. So we're going to take and plug our point and our slope into point-slope form. Our slope is negative 1/2. y1 is negative 5 because that's the y value of the point they give us. x1 is 4 because that's the x value of the point they give us. Then we just simplify. We get y plus 5 equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. And we subtract 5 from both sides. Gives us y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. So there's our perpendicular line. Notice the slopes of our new equation and our original equation are negative reciprocals. Why don't you find the equation of a line that passes through 4, 3 and is parallel to, find one that's parallel to and one that's perpendicular to y equals 4x minus 7. So take a few minutes, pause the video, come up with an answer, and then hit play, and we'll check to see if you got it right. Okay, so for parallel, we want our equation to have a slope of 4, but it's still got to pass through the point 4, 3. So we're going to put in 3 for y1 and 4 for x1. For perpendicular, it needs to have a slope of negative 1/4. That's the opposite reciprocal. And we're still plugging in 3 for y1 and 4 for x1. So we just need to simplify these two equations. On the left, of y minus 3 equals 4x minus 16 when we distribute, and we add 3 to both sides, we get y equals 4x minus 13. On the right, we distribute, we get negative 1/4 x plus 1, then we add 3 to both sides, which gives us y equals negative 1/4 x plus 4. So there's a parallel and a perpendicular line that passes through that point. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you need something clarified, you can go back and watch the video again. Otherwise, you can start on your homework.